Back. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Very good.
Hello.
Are you ready to learn some Python?
Hello, ocean.
Are you ready to get your Python?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so last time we were talking about data types, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to want to, we made a folder, right, for you to keep all your code, did we? Give me an ls over there. See what files you have there. Let's go to projects, cd projects. No, cd, you want to change directories. Whoa. Is that going to work? Come on, you know better than... No, is that going to work? Is that going to work? There we go. Get at it. Okay, what the heck? Space. What directory do you want to go into? Projects, right? Not just the name project. No? You're seeing it right there.
Forgot the capital.
Alright, let's give an ls in there, see what we got. Training. What, did you make that? Is that your...
I don't know. I don't remember.
Let's see what's in there. Oh yeah, okay. So that's where you have your code. Alright? You can't change into a file. How do you step into a file? You can't do that. A file is not a folder. So you're good. You're done there. Yeah. You can open it up if you want. With Vim, give it a tab. Just to autocomplete. Boom. Alright, so you got some stuff in there. You're printing 2 plus 2. Printing hello ocean. Okay. Let's keep it there. So, last time we were talking about Python, right? And what types of information Python can handle. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few types it can handle. One type is numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's quit your text editor. So command 2 dots and Q. Enter. Let's go into interactive Python so we can test stuff right away. So type Python. Yeah, okay, so we're interactive now. So we can tell Python to deal with numbers, right? 2 types of numbers, integers and floating points, okay? So we can give it a whole number, right? You can say 2 plus 2, right? And so depending on what type of information it's dealing with, it's going to be able to do different things, right? For example, you can add numbers, you can subtract them. If you're dealing with text, well, you can stick text together, you can check if it's uppercase or if it's lowercase, you can reverse the text, right? So depending on what type of data it's working with, it can do different things, okay? So very quickly, let's, and every time we tell it, we give it some data, we can give it a label so that we can remember it for later, right? That's called the variable, right? So we can say x equals 5, right? X equals 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Y equals 3. Okay, so those are 2 variables that Python now remembered. And let's say, I don't know if we want for some reason pi, what's pi? What's the value of pi?
3.14.
Yeah. Okay, so now all we have to do is say pi and it tells us 3.14, right? We don't have to type it out each time. So that's convenient, right? Okay.
Oh, you write pi?
I mean, I just gave it the name pi. I could have given it anything. You say have to say pi equals 3.14, right? You have to tell it. You put in an e there. Pi. Oh, I thought you said pi. Okay, great. So now the value 3.14 is assigned, it's given a label, and the label is pi, okay? Now, there's other types we can deal with. Text, right? And those are called strings, right? Every time we tell Python to work with text, we have to put it in quotation marks, right? And anything inside those quotation marks is text. Victoria is cool, right? And we can put that in a variable as well, okay? Yeah, so that's text, right? It's inside quotes. And we can do things with text that's not the same as what we can do with numbers. For example, we can say join two strings together, right? So we can say v plus some more text. You're forgetting your quotation marks there. Yeah, so now you're giving I am cool the label C, right? And now let's say you want to add something to that. So you can join strings together, right? You can say, you can use plus, right? In this case, since it's working with, you got an error. Why? Because it can't add a number to a string. It doesn't work. They're different data types, right? But you can add strings to strings, right? So you can say C plus, you can define a new string, right? So what do you want to say after I am cool? Okay. So now let's do C plus D. Oh, it was M, not D. So D is not defined. It doesn't know what that is. I am cooled. Very nice. Okay, so moving on to the next type of data, all right? And this one we haven't talked about yet. It's called logical types, okay? Also known as booleans. These are very useful, all right? But they're very simple. So basically, we have numbers, we have strings, and we have the values true and false, okay? That's a type of value on its own. It's not text, right? It's just true or false, okay? And we can do operations with that too. We can say, and it's basically like logical operations, okay? So we can perform logical operations. So for example, let's say you define a variable called stock is empty, and we say that is currently true, okay? And another variable that says store needs replan, say that's equal to true, right? So now we've assigned some labels to some Boolean variables. So every time you name a variable, there can't be spaces. So if the name of a variable is going to have multiple words, you have to put underscores. Yeah. When it sees a space, it stops. So now we can do things like Boolean Algebra. Okay. Oh, sorry. So true is always with a capital T, and false is always with a capital F. So these values are true and false. Okay. Okay. So now we can do operations on them. So we can say stock is empty, and we can say check this out. What are you doing there?
Stock is empty?
Yeah. It's just a label, like x equals 5. We can say stock is empty equals true.
Or store needs replan?
Well, it depends on what you define, right? What did you define? You can do a tab to autocomplete if it's a long. It doesn't do it. Oh, here. Okay. You gotta type it out. Okay, so now you have a value stored. What are you trying to do?
I don't know.
Okay, stop.
I'm
Just
trying
stop.
to use it.
Just listen. I'm gonna show you how to use it. Okay. So now we have these two values, right? Stock is empty, which has the value false. Oops. Okay, so check this. Pay attention. Okay, so I have two variables here. Stock is empty and wants replan. Okay, so maybe your store the stock is empty, but maybe it doesn't want to replen right now. Okay? So we set this one to false and we set this one to true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we going to replenish? Do we replenish? And that's going to be equal to stock is empty and wants replen. Right? So this is an operation that we're doing. This and is kind of like an addition or subtraction or division, but with Boolean values. Right? So it takes two things and it does an operation and it gives you back a result. Okay? So that computes it. And now if we see the value of do we replen, it's going to be false. Right? So what happened there was this value, stock is empty, right, is true. And this value wants replen is false, right?
Doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
The whole thing.
So this is just a value, right? It's just a different type of value. Just like numbers are a type of value, strings are a type of value, Booleans are a type of value. Okay? Does that make sense?
Maybe it's just the things that you're saying aren't useful.
What do you mean?
Like a stock is empty.
Okay, sorry. So let me just. Okay, forget that. So let's just say x equals true.
It would be.
And y equals false. Okay.
More like units, or because.
I was just trying to make it relatable. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I can't use this for that?
Yes, you can, but maybe I used the wrong names or whatever. So the idea is here, okay? You have a variable name and a value, right? X equals true, y equals false, right? It's just like, it could have been a number, right? But this happens to be Booleans now, okay? Logical values. Okay. So now, what happens if I say, and now I have operations that I can do with these types, right? Mm-hmm. So for one of those operations is called AND, okay? And what it does is it takes two Boolean values, x and y, right? And it gives me back true if both are true. And it gives me false if any of them is false. Okay. Right? So it's like an addition, it's an operation. Okay?
So y is true.
Yeah, try that. X equals false. Capital F. That's it. So now you can compute new values now by using an operation. Y space and x. So the result of that is false, right? Why? Because when you use the AND, only if both of them are true do you get true. So let's say you set, let's say you had set x to true. So just say x equals true now, and do x and y. Oops, which one do I have? Y equals true, x and y. You get true this time, right? Mm-hmm. Now let me set x back to false, okay? Mm-hmm. So now x is false and y is true. And now I'm going to use a different operation called the OR, okay? Mm-hmm. Which means if any one of those is true, then the result is true, okay? So if I say x or y, I get true, okay? I mean, you can do this stuff on Excel, right? X or y, so that gives you true, right? Why? Because either this one or this one have to be true in order for me to say true, right? So let's say I just think about it normally, like if I'm hungry or if there's something really tasty, then I'll eat it, right? Only one of those has to be true for me to actually eat something, right? But if there's food and it hasn't expired, then I eat it, right? Both things have to be true.
We're not writing F. We're not writing F.
We're gonna get to that, right? But this is something very important for if. for that type of operation that we're going to do later on, right? But you're right. If is a very important thing in programming, and it all works with these Boolean operations, right? And the last one I'll show you is not, okay? And what not does is just like in real life, it does what you do, but the opposite, right? So you can say not x, and that's going to give you the opposite of the value of x. Not with a space. Right? So x was false, and it gives you back true. So it just flips the value, right? Make sense? So these are just operations you can do with Booleans, right? Are and, which is true if x and y are true, false otherwise, right? Or is true if at least one of x and y are true, and that not gives you back the opposite, right? Okay? So that's Boolean values, right? It's just combining two numbers to get a new number, right? It's just there's different rules for how it works, right? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Okay. Now, last thing we're going to look at today, another type of data, is called a list. So now we're combining these together, okay? All right, we're going to finish off with this in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to introduce it real quick. So we have all these numbers, right? All these numbers, all these values floating around, right? Okay. Now, when you look at your Excel sheets, right, you see a column of data, right? And that's kind of like one thing on its own, right? You can think of it as a list of things, right? So in Python, you have the same thing. You have lists, okay? So we can have my favorite foods, and we're going to define that as a list. And it can be, since it's foods, they're probably going to be text. They're going to be strings. So I'm going to say burgers, comma, spaghetti, comma, tacos. Those are my favorite foods. So the way you create a list in Python is you put a square bracket. So you can say, you give it a name, and then you say equals, and then space, and then a square bracket. It means you're going to start a list, and then square bracket, and then you put a value, right? So it can either be a variable that you defined or just a straight up value. So pizza, since there's no quotation marks, it's going to think that it's a variable, but since you never defined it, it's going to have a problem. So you put it as a string, pizza, yeah. Pizza's one. Let's put one more. Comma, and then the next thing, yeah. Where's your quotation marks? Pizza and spaghetti are your favorite foods?
It's going to take a lot of getting used to.
The quotation marks, very important.
It's hard to remember to do it. Yeah, well, it's just like my fingers don't think to do it.
You'll get used to it. One more? Cheese? Cheeseburger. That's fine. Just cheese? You're putting more? It's just a lot of foods. You're gonna need the quotation marks. Okay, that's enough food now. Close the list. So close your brackets. Oh my god. Macaroni.
Is it okay to just...
Yeah, I just went to the next line. It's fine. Okay, close the list. That's enough food now. Okay, hit enter. Okay, so now Python stored that list. Now, if you want to remember what your favorite foods were, you just type the name of the list. My favorite foods. Yeah, I'll put a thing that'll let you do it. Perfect. So that's all your favorite foods all in one place,
Hmm.
right? So now you can start seeing how this is going to be useful, right? You can have a list of stores that you can replenish, things like that, right? And next time,
I see.
what?
If I were to put a list of stores.
You can sort it. For example, you can say sort my favorite foods, and it's going to put them in alphabetical order. Sorted, and I put them in alphabetical order. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do with lists. You type sorted. So we haven't looked at functions yet, but just to give you a taste. Sorted, round brackets, because you're giving input to a function. So open a round bracket. So this thing takes anything you give it and sorts it, okay? So what you give it goes inside the round brackets, and then you want to sort your list, so you just type the name of your list. Yeah. Now you see cheese, cheeseburgers, so it's an alphabetical order now. Right?
How does it decide alphabetical order?
Well, because it's text, it decides to do alphabetical order.
Oh.
If it were numbers, it would have done it in increasing order, things like that.
But can you choose this if you want increasing or decreasing?
Of course, yes. You can do that. You can sort it in any way you want. And you can define your own rules for sorting and things like that. So yeah, lists are very useful because they sort of collect a bunch of information, put it all in one place, right?
Mm-hmm. And say like I wanted cheese, but then cheese has different kinds of cheeses, and so then like can I give characteristics to each one?
That's a very good point actually, and that's getting into object-oriented programming, which we will talk about. But yes, you can do that.
So that way I can take the stores and sort them by their sales.
Of course, definitely. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah, so basically what you're talking about is defining your own types of data. Right now we have these basic ones that Python gives us, like strings, integers, booleans, but you can imagine you define your own type of data, which is a store. And stores have attributes, right? Like size, square footage, how many sales they made last year, whatever. So all of these are attributes, and you can do operations on stores as well. Just like you do operations on numbers and on strings, you can say add to this store stock, and you'll just update some information about that store. Just how we can perform operations on these lists or on these strings, right? So it's very flexible, so you can define things however you want, but the building blocks are just these basic things.
And then say, can I put in the lists, and then I say sort, and then I say take all of the ones that have over this amount of sales and give them one pre-pack.
Yep. You can do that because you have this operation which is greater than or less than, right?
But then how do I get this to put it into AS400?
So that's something we'd have to look at more specifically, how their program works, but it's possible.
Because AS400 is basically this.
Yeah, well, I mean, with this, for example, you could build your own spreadsheets. So you can make Python create a spreadsheet using all the different rules that you want and any kind of thing you want to build. And then at the end, it spits out a spreadsheet that you can then pass into your other program, right?
But the other program doesn't accept spreadsheets.
Well, I mean, I don't know how it works, but we can...
Basically...
All right, let's end this recording. We'll talk about this offline. All done?